Welcome back, everyone. We're here. Welcome back. Well, welcome back from last week, the week before. We've been trying to get this X-Men spoiler review off the ground. We're finally here. Hopefully, there are no gremlins. This will go smoothly. We're not going to take up too much of your time. We want to get this. We're going to cover 4 episodes in an hour.
Last time we got sabotaged by the Sentinels.
Yeah, that's what it was.
This broadcast is Sentinel free.
Yes, exactly.
Lucky for me, I keep a bat underneath my bed, so I took care of the Sentinel problem.
Right. Okay. So they're not coming back. All right. So thank you so much for joining us. This is Father Son Galaxy. I am Kerwin. This is Keith.
Hello there.
Yes, this is our, we love Marvel just as much as we love Star Wars. So we had to talk about X-Men 97. We are going to be covering every episode. It's going to be live. It's going to be a spoiler review. So let's not waste too much time. Let's get into it because we have 4 episodes to cover. All right.
Speaking of X-Men 97, I got these.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Explain what they are. People who might be listening to us. Yes.
This is the X-Jet.
Right, you got a Wolverine, Lego Wolverine, and you got what's the jet called?
X-Jet.
The X-Jet.
Comes with the first ever Rogue minifigure, and the faceprint looks like a custom.
Nice, okay.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Oh, pretty cool. And thank you if you're joining us on YouTube or Instagram, Facebook, X. Thank you. All right.
Twitter.
Let's talk about I'm always, a person who likes to talk about the history of anything. When did the X-Men started? What was the inspiration for it? So did some research. Just wanted to throw out some facts out there. So the X-Men were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in September 1963. They appeared in X-Men #1. The series was canceled in 1970, but was revived by Chris Claremont. We're talking about the comic book series, right? We're talking about the comic book series started in 1963, canceled in 1970, and the X-Men became one of the most popular, successful characters in Marvel Comics. All right. Now, at the time, prior to the X-Men, so we already had Spider-Man, the Hulk, Fantastic Four. They were in existence. They were doing great. The sales were through the roof. And then Stan Lee's publisher came to him and said, well, we need another series. Can you come up with another series? So Lee wanted the characters to have superpowers, but he didn't want to go into how they got their powers. Okay. So his solution was to call them the mutants because they were born this way. So no explanation at all. Okay. And the publisher didn't like the title The Mutants because readers wouldn't know what a mutant was. Okay.
Also, you don't want to call anybody the mutants. Well, that's way less appealing than X-Men.
But yeah, okay.
Could you imagine if there was a show called The Mutants that ran for 5 years?
Yeah, and look, maybe the publisher was right. Yeah, The Mutants may not have been, the best title for them, but Spike Lee, Stan Lee, came up with the X-Men
in clutch as he usually does.
Yes, because the X-Men has these X extraordinary powers. So that was the name he came up with. And then that was it. And also one of the lead characters in the comic books is named Professor Xavier. So it made sense that Xavier also begins with X-Men. All right. So here we go. So now, what was going on at the time in 1963? What were the social issues? Okay. So one of the things that Stan said about the X-Men is that it is about social issues. That's the underlying theme, the underlying stories about the X-Men, right? But he didn't want the social issues to interfere with the storytelling. He didn't want to hit readers over the head with it. Now, as far as social issues, if you know what the X-Men are about, they're outcasts, right? They're not really accepted by the majority of the population.
It gets a little political at times.
Right. There are people with special powers, obviously, and people fear for things that they don't know or they don't understand. All right. So now, what was interesting when this comic book came out in 1963, one of the things that was happening as far as social issues was the civil rights movement. That was the heart of the civil rights movement in 1963. So some of the events that were taking place was in that year was February 28th John F. Kennedy, president at the time, gave a special message to Congress to enact legislation to strengthen voting rights laws and desegregate schools. All right. Then in June 1963, President Kennedy submitted a comprehensive bill for the Civil Rights Act of 1963 to Congress. Okay. And also the following month, August 1963, March on Washington, right, where Dr. King gave his I Have a Dream speech. So these events happened right before the X-Men #1 dropped in September of 1963. Now, I find that interesting. Now, did Stan Lee say that the civil rights movement was the inspiration for the X-Men? No. And maybe he didn't want to say that because he didn't want to alienate maybe a part of the fan base, because civil rights was a very hot button topic at the time. So he didn't want to associate X-Men with anything that was going on in the real world. But do I think there's an inspiration? I do. It has to be, because it just seems that the timing was just very interesting when it came out. So about once again, these people will have these special powers or abilities, and not like everybody else, and they're teased about who they are, where they're from, and what their abilities. And people have if in the comic books you've seen uprisings of humans who are trying to get rid of mutants. That's what the X-Men were about. All right.
Speaking of mutants, wouldn't it be awesome if there was a mutant who had the power to make food that could heal people or harm people? Like the best food in the entire multiverse.
So you're saying have a superhuman ability to feed everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Kind of like Peter Potnoodle, but cooler.
Okay, is that a Spider-Man?
Yeah, he's a bowl of ramen and he feeds the homeless.
That's pretty cool. No, that's a true story, right? There is a character like that.
Peter Potnoodle.
All right. So what you get if you've seen the X-Men or about them in the comic books, it's a family story. It's a character-driven story. People refer to it as a soap opera, which I'm down for. And I think that works for the X-Men because all the characters are very unique and they're very interesting. So it doesn't matter which character in the X-Men is being referenced or spoken about. I think we are all interested to know who they are behind the scenes. All right. So let's take some time. Let's say that you've never heard the X-Men. Who are the X-Men? Let's go through the characters there. All right. So let's start with Cyclops. And what Cyclops emits concussive beams from his eyes. He has a relationship with Jean Grey. As a
you got this from the end of the X-Men episodes.
Yes, exactly right. So that's a good point. What's very nice about the X-Men, if you were not a fan of the X-Men from the 90s, which I wasn't, I didn't watch it back in the 90s.
I'm a fan.
Yes, but I think it was very helpful that at the end of every episode, the end credits, they give you a little synopsis or, like a blurb as to who the X-Men are and what their abilities are. So this is pretty cool. So this is coming right from the end titles. So Jean Grey possesses telepathic and telekinetic powers. She and her husband, Scott, are expecting a child and want to leave the X-Men to start a family.
Yeah, right? Do they?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Okay. Wolverine, we know is Logan. He has the adamantium. He has
adamantium mode.
Right, yeah. Now, what do we want to say about Rogue? Like, what is her ability?
Her power is absorbing powers.
Yes, exactly.
She also has the base powers of Miss Marvel.
Okay, right. And we'll
Carol Danvers specifically.
Yeah, and we'll talk about her powers because she is quite powerful. And we're going to see her use it, and we'll talk about that scene. We got Gambit, all right? He charges objects with explosive kinetic energy. Then we have Storm, Aurora, who has the ability to control and manipulate forces of nature. We have the Beast, possesses human strength and agility, genius level intellect. They're all smart to me. But Jubilee generates explosive pyrotechnic energy, plasmoids. Pretty interesting. Bishop can absorb and discharge most forms of energy. Then we have Morph. That's your guy, Morph. Yeah, he transforms their voice and body to impersonate anyone and gain their physical abilities. He's a shapeshifter. We have seen him change into different X-Men or X-Men from the past.
Morph should just shapeshift into Thanos with all 6 Infinity Stones and just snap his enemies out of existence.
Yeah, well, he has the ability to do that, doesn't he?
Yes.
All right, that's cool.
He definitely has the ability to shapeshift items along with them. So.
Yeah. And we have Magneto. Magneto is the baddie. If you've seen the films, I don't think we need to go into much of who Magneto is.
But now he owns the X-Men.
He owns the X-Men, yeah. So we'll talk about how he got there. So now let's get into episode 1 called To Me,
My X-Men.
Written by Bo DeMeo and directed by Jack Castorina. Yeah, okay. All right. And it picks up where the series, the 1990 series, left off. Professor X is killed by a former NSA agent named Henry Gyrick. With this first scene that appears on the screen is this abandoned building. Now, I don't know if you picked this up, but the abandoned building was once a hip skate party. All right, hip skate party. But some of the letters are lit and the others are not. So if you take out the letters that are not lit, it actually reads
hate party.
Hate party. All right. So it's setting a tone for you. All right. About what this series is going to be about. All right. We'll talk about that more. So there's apparently a hate crime taking place inside where there are humans are fearing and intimidating a mutant. And the mutant is
a fellow named Robert DaCosta.
Yes, Robert DaCosta. Apparently, his family is very wealthy, and he's trying to defend himself. He's saying, "I didn't ask for this. I was born this way." And DaCosta will find out later on. He reveals his powers to Jubilee. He is Sunspot. We haven't seen him use his powers as of yet, so I guess we'll come back and talk to that. But then he is rescued by Storm.
Wait, you mean like as of in this episode? Or?
Well, not in this episode, right? He didn't really. We know he's called Sunspot, but he didn't really use his abilities as of yet. Or am I missing something?
Didn't he show them off at the end of the episode?
Well, he showed them off to Jubilee, but he didn't actually use it to defend himself or to defend anyone.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. And then we have the X-Men. They rescue the mutant Storm. We know Storm. I am Storm, mistress of the elements. Comes in, and Bishop and Cyclops, they save Roberto. And they need to find out. The storyline in this episode was trying to find out where this Sentinel technology was coming from. I don't know if you have a favorite moment from episode 1, but my favorite moment was when the ship exploded in midair. And, you talk about
everyone's free falling.
They're free falling. Talk about the X-Men. Everybody is trying to save each other. So the ones who could fly, were saving the ones who couldn't. We saw
Morph just straight up turns into Angel.
Yeah.
Starts picking people up.
Archangel. Yeah. That was pretty cool. And then you saw, it was like a move from James Bond, like something that James Bond would have done. I'll explain that some other time. But Cyclops he is doing free falling, but he's actually, going straight down, and then he uses his optic powers, and he creates a crater or something where he just lands, and then all the other X-Men land behind him.
And he's like, "To me, my
X-Men." And that's when he drops the line, "To me, my X-Men." I thought that was awesome.
That have done more damage?
For him or for everybody else? Keith, it's a cartoon. You ruined the moment. And I was saying how great it was. Cyclops did something pretty cool. And you said, well, okay. Anyway, Q&A. Thank you so much for those who are joining us. Let's see what we have. Alex, thank you, sir. Hey, guys, sorry for being a bit late. Busy day and running errands. Be glad to be here. We're glad to have you here. Don't worry about it. Matthew, all right. Thank you. Thank you for coming back, Matthew. Good to see you. Hello, I have a question for you guys. Do you think I can watch X-Men 97 without watching any previous seasons of the X-Men cartoon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think X-Men 97 is really easy to understand, especially because at the beginning of X-Men 97, they kind of lay out where the show left off. So.
Yeah. And by the way, Matthew, I have not seen X-Men 97 either, so I'm not worried about it.
You haven't seen X-Men 97?
I'm sorry. I didn't see X-Men from the 90s. I didn't see the series from the 90s.
Yeah, OG X-Men.
So I am actually, watching this series for the first time, not knowing what took place.
Wait, does this take place in the 90s?
Well, that's why it's called 97.
Wait, so where are they getting all this tech from? Weren't Nokia phones the big thing in the 90s?
Well, I don't know how accurate they are. But yeah, so Matthew, to answer your question, you don't need to have seen the series from the 90s. I'm watching it for the first time. I'm learning things. I had comic books, X-Men comic books when I was growing up, but I don't know everything there is about X-Men. There's just so much to learn. So I'm excited to just watch these episodes and see what happens next. All right. Okay. So that was episode 1. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to cover.
They had to take out Bolivar Trask.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Forgot.
Yeah. So they find Bolivar Trask. Can you tell us, please, who Trask is? Yeah.
So he's working with this Henry Guy Rich fellow.
Yes.
They're doing something. He's making Sentinels.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so he is the one in charge of these Sentinels. So they find him, and they
said, no,
right.
Stop it. And he said, nah. And then he summoned Sentinels.
Right. And the Sentinels, how do you describe them? They're like
decrepit.
Robot? Are they robotic? Powerful, strong, tall. How would you describe them?
Sentinels.
Okay, all right. So they're Sentinels.
They're like massive robots with lasers.
Well,
think of them as like a giant Iron Man.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, they're pretty cool. I mean, they kind of remind me of Galactus for some reason. I think maybe because of their face.
Big and purple.
Yeah, maybe that's it. They're big and purple.
With a large head.
Yeah. But they defeat the Sentinels. They actually were able to capture Trask. I'm assuming he's in prison, so all is good. So now they come back to the mansion. Of course, they all live in this big mansion left to them by Professor Xavier. And Cyclops or Scott is gearing himself to become the new leader after the demise of Professor X. But who walks in the door? But the man himself, Magneto, and he is coming towards them with the last will and testament of Charles Xavier. And he claims, although
you now belong to me, my X-Men.
Right.
And I'm like,
he claimed, and I don't know if anyone has even read the last will and testament, that Charles left the X-Men for him to take charge of, Magneto. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, all right. There's your soap opera right there. So that's pretty interesting. All right. So we have a question for you. So episode 1 sets it. Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Because the last time someone answered the question, I didn't know what the question was. Okay. Anyway. All right. So that is episode 1. All right. Let's go to episode 2, called Mutant Liberation Begins, written by Bo DeMayo, directed by Chase Connolly. One of the things I like about Beast, I love the quotes that he gives. I mean, I'm not going to quote every single if he has a quote for every single episode, but this one actually got my attention. So it says, the only safe and sure way to destroy your enemy is to make him your friend. And that's from Mark Twain. So I just thought that was pretty interesting.
You know what they say, keep your friends close and your enemies close.
There you go. Right. That's another.
I usually like to social distance myself to my enemies. And if you are one of them, what's up? I don't like you.
Okay. Yeah. How about that? Okay. That's cool. All right. Yeah. So that's on the same line. Now, you were talking about Magneto's uniform or costume. Like you didn't like the look of it. Yeah.
It's goofy. Screen Crush thought it was goofy too.
Yeah. Well, okay. But it's actually comic book accurate, right? Because there's issue number 2. Issue number 200.
You know it's comic book accurate? Spider-Man's homemade suit from Homecoming.
Okay. All right. Very good. So issue number 200 has him on the cover wearing that same costume, right? And this episode was actually based on that issue. This is a trial.
He's on trial. The trial of Magneto.
Of Magneto. All right. So at the beginning of the episode, we see Magneto is actually saving lives instead of destroying lives. How
does they even know it's him? Like he's always wearing a helmet and he has a completely different costume on. But now he's got his hair out and he's wearing purple and magenta. So like, how would you?
Well, you
I
can't
don't know.
miss him. I mean, he's wearing, he's not wearing a helmet, like you said.
He was wearing a big old M on his chest. So I guess that's a pretty dead
There
giveaway.
you go. M for Magneto. Like
Also M for Morph. M for who else has an M in their name?
Okay.
M for Mutant.
All right. Very good. All
M
right.
for Master Mold. M
Magneto
for Mr. Sinister.
has a change of heart, right? So he's actually saving people. People are a little leery about this. Well, what's going on? The UN Commission, there is the government, there's a UN Commission on Superhuman Activities, comes to visit Magneto at the mansion, and they arrest him with crimes against humanity. And guess what?
And
this
for
is very interesting.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, and then this was interesting. Magneto surrenders to them. He just gives in and says, "Okay."
Magneto folded like a Motorola.
He did. What's going on? What's happening? But I think this was a way for Magneto to really defend himself, to tell the people exactly why he did what he did, and who the mutants are. So let's talk about this trial, because this was wonderful. I thought this part of the episode was so well written. It was very emotional. So here we are. We're at the trial of Magneto, and you have these protesters that are outside the courthouse, right? And then Magneto does testify that he thinks that mutants should be allowed to believe differently, love differently, and he thinks that mutants and humans can live in harmony. And why not, right? They can live in harmony. And then one of the people on the council from the UN, a UN official, jumps up and says, your words, while kind, do nothing to heal those hurt by your crimes. And Magneto had a great comeback line. He says, and your soundbite indignation will not heal mutant wounds. You know what? Right. So look, there's two sides to every story, right? People, mutants are,
hurt people.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you know what I mean? And, who started? Was it the humans attacking the mutants, or the mutants attacked the humans first?
I think it was the humans who were attacking the mutants, because the mutants didn't really have anything to do with it.
Well, right, yeah. So the mutants just want to live and have the same rights as the humans. That's all they wanted.
Yeah. You know what's strange though?
What's that?
People don't seem to hate like Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk, but they hate mutants, which I don't understand.
That's a very good
Hulk
point.
in his
I never thought
own
of
way
that.
is kind of a mutant. So is Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. They don't seem to get as much hate.
That's a very good point. I mean,
Captain America's got super soldier serum in him. That makes him kind of mutated.
Exactly right. Any superhuman, would be considered an outcast.
Black Panther with the heart-shaped herb.
Sure. Yeah. But that's a very good point. Yeah, I don't know why the X-Men are singled out, but they just seem to be.
It's like it's them and them specifically.
Yeah, I think they're the one that are most feared for whatever reason. By humans. All right, let's talk about the executioner. All right. He doesn't like mutants, and he wants to take them out. So he's like one of these vigilante guys where he wants to take the law into his own hands and take out these mutants. So what he does, he comes to the courthouse armed and dangerous. Okay. Now I mentioned about the protesters outside. What was interesting about this was, this is actually in the comic book where this trial took place, right? And you had these protesters outside with these signs, holding up signs about mutants and the genes, saying terrible things about who the mutants are. And it's so funny that it's like life imitates art, imitating life, because when I saw the protesters outside now breaking in to the UN assembly, how could you not think of January the 6th, right? Very, very interesting, very timely.
Man,
all right, so
that was such a strange time.
Sure was, yeah. So the executioner, he was one of those people that broke into the UN embassy, and he takes a shot at Magneto, misses. Storm,
Storm being the absolute goat she is,
big-hearted Storm,
jumps in the way to take the hit.
Takes the bullet for Magneto, and she is down. And Magneto is mad.
And she gets back up and she's like, I can't feel the wind or the moisture.
Yeah, that was sad.
I can't feel anything, and she's like really sad.
And you know that it's so interesting. I mean, we'll talk more about Storm, but that was a part of who she was. You know what I mean? Like she can control something as powerful, and then when that power is taken from you, and not taken away because you chose for it to not use it, or you know, not to acknowledge it, but somebody just decides, well, I don't want you to have this power, so I'm going to take it away from you, regardless of whether you like it or not. I'm sorry.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Why didn't Magneto?
Okay, go ahead. Why
didn't Magneto just use a table to block himself? Or more importantly, I'm sure that bullet was made of metal. He could have just moved it out of the way, or taken the gun for the executioner.
Do you think he would have been able to react fast enough?
Well, now that I think about it, he doesn't have super speed, but still.
Yeah.
Storm saw it.
And she has wings, right? So not that she can fly.
Well, so can Magneto, technically.
Okay, yeah. You know, that's a good point. Yeah. But just imagine like the courage that it took for her to even take that shot from Magneto. That was, you know, that's big hearted, you know, like how many people would do that, you know, put their lives on the line like that. But again, Magneto got angry and he took that executioner and those people that are on the
threw him on a table,
the assembly, and just uprooted the foundation of the building and took them up to the sky.
Put them in space.
I think they're still there. It's like, okay, well, don't make me let you down. So they may still be up there for weeks, but he got very angry. But what he did, and this is a big thing that he did, he didn't kill them. He spared their life, right? Yeah. Because once again, you know,
he's on his redemption.
Exactly. He's preaching that, you know, humans and mutants can live together in harmony, right? They can live together in this world. And okay, so after the events of the trial, the UN decides to drop the charges. They pardon Magneto, and they begin talks with bringing his mutant country, Genosha, right, into, you know, to bring him in as a United Nations country. Pretty cool. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. All right, let's stop here and go to Q&A and see what do we have going on here. Okay, so thank you for the question, Tanya. So
I think there will continue to be tension between mutants and humans.
Yeah.
Any misunderstanding or extreme action by Magneto or others could be a tipping point that changes opinion.
Yes, very good point.
I see.
Absolutely.
I think Magneto's approach will start opening the path towards improving relations between mutants and humans, but it's tenuous and any misstep will be scapegoated and destroy relations.
Ooh, yeah. It's not
Alex, you need to be a politician.
He might be a politician. It's not going to be easy. And we know that, you know, because, wow. Yeah, it's, you know, look at our world right now. You know, we're trying to live together, you know, and, you know, we just don't quite know how to do that, you know, with you know, living with each other and getting along, you know, and making sure that we all have the same rights, you know, that we all deserve. All right, so let's move on. So now this was actually a very good episode because there were also another like a B story or another plot line going on where Jean Grey, we know, is expecting a child, right? And the baby's coming. And you know, so Jean and Logan are back at the mansion, and Jean is ready to go to the hospital. And I thought it was a very funny line when, you know, those labor pains just hit her all of a sudden, and she says, "He's here." And then Wolverine brings out his claws and says, "Who? Apocalypse?" I
love when he goes to Apocalypse.
Apocalypse of all people. So he rushes her to the hospital. And of course, they get to a hospital that doesn't deliver mutant babies. We don't do that here. You know, the doctor says no. And then
so Rogue just says, "Step aside."
People might lose control and destroy us or whatever. Like, okay.
I'm surprised Cyclops didn't just punch him in the face.
Yeah, and then
he looked about ready to.
Right. And
luckily, Rogue just said, "Step aside, sir." Stole his memories, threw him to the ground, and then got ready to deliver a baby.
Yeah, there you go. All right, and right.
Because that's what mutants do. That's just a theory. A field theory. Okay. And cut.
Can't you tell that Keith is a fan of food theory? All right.
Film theory.
Okay, film theory. All right. So you're right. So we saw Rogue use her powers, and that's exactly what she does. She had absorbed all the mind and the skills, everything that doctor learned You know, she got it all done in a few
I hope he
seconds.
becomes
All
unemployed.
those many years of medical school and those the money that he spent to go to medical school, and Rogue just said, "Here, let me take that." You know, yeah, it was
And
interesting.
you know what's funny?
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure she probably took on his debt from college.
No, that part she left with him. She took everything else. She took all of his
She
knowledge.
took all his knowledge and left him with the
Left him with
bills.
yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine somebody just stealing your PhD?
Oh, that's hurtful. It's like, okay. All right. So, yes, this baby is born. Nathan Charles Summers. All right.
Charles for Charles Xavier.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, that was a very nice touch to name the baby after Charles. Nathan Summers. We will talk about Nathan a little bit more in the next episode. Let's get back to Storm. So Storm is now back in Hank McCoy's medical facility, and he breaks the bad news to her and tells her that the executioner blast that hit her was filled with radiation and her powers are gone permanently.
Permanently.
And that really hit Aurora very hard, and she actually left the team. She got on a bus.
She just said, peace.
She's out. That was a great montage. You know, with her leaving and the note that she left behind, very powerful. You know, Storm is my favorite character. You know, I'm talking to her like she's gone, but you know, she's not gone. But
no, she just left. She's alive.
Right. Yeah, but it's just very sad to see her. You know, she just doesn't feel that she's complete anymore. You know, she's not herself. So we'll see what happens to Storm. All right. So after the team has read the note, Morph is not having it. He says, "Oh, she'll be back. You know, Storm will be back. You know, she just needs some time away." Doorbell rings. He runs to the door and says, "Oh, there she is. She's back." He opens the door and it's Jean Grey. What?
Okay. Oh, wait. My guy turns around and Jean's behind him and he's like, Jean?
What is going on here? Okay. All right. So we got our answer in episode 3, Fire Made Flesh, written by Bo DeMayo and Charlie Fellman, directed by Emi Unamura. Before we get into episode 3, just want to make sure if there's any comments or questions you want to ask about episode 2. I think we're good for now. All right. We'll keep on going, but, you know, send in your questions and comments. We'll take it. So, who is this second Jean Grey? Well, it turns out that the Jean Grey that came to the door was actually the real Jean Grey. Well, who is the Jean Grey that's inside the mansion? Well, that's Madeline Pryor. Who is Madeline Pryor? Well, Madeline Pryor is a clone. Okay.
You know, now that
can we get away from the clone stories? You know, with Star Wars.
You say that as we're reviewing the Bad Batch.
No, I'm look, I don't mind. Yeah, these stories are great.
But why is it that the Jean Grey in the mansion is Madeline Pryor?
Why is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
When did they get switched out?
Well, okay.
And how do they have the same memories?
That's see. Okay. Now I'm glad you asked that question because I'm still confused as to when the switch happened, and how much the clone knows.
It's the same thing they did with Rhodey.
Tell me about it.
And in that accursed show that wasted 6 weeks worth of my time.
Secret Invasion. Yes, just say Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion.
Yes, okay.
Secretly invaded my schedule.
Okay.
Rhodey came out and we still don't know when the switch happened a year later.
Okay. All right.
So
yeah, right. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if the episode, you know, explained it very well, or maybe they wanted to just keep it a little cloudy for us, or vague. I don't know.
Hopefully there's a chance of meatballs with that cloudy.
Right. So so in the comics, if you read the comics, and it doesn't matter if you read the comics or not, you don't have to. But again, just enjoy the series as it is. But Madeline Pryor was created by Sinister. Okay, the Sinister is a very popular villain in the X-Men.
Yeah, just a quick note. Why is it that every insanely powerful, like, telepathic character is always screaming about something like Jean Grey or Scarlet Witch or even a Rogue?
Screaming about something. I mean, like they're
usually yelling or like they have some sort of vision. I don't get that.
Well, good point. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's something, you know, visual, you know, like cerebral, I guess, you know, the visual that they're sorry.
always something wrong.
Yeah, I mean, look, hey, superhumans, they're not perfect. They come with baggage. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but they're always seeing visions of something. And is it the future that they're seeing, or is it just a dream? We don't know.
I just thought of two superheroes dressed in red who lost their vision: Daredevil and Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch lost her vision.
Yeah.
Okay, was that in the
Get
multiverse? Oh,
she lost her vision.
She lost her vision.
And so did Daredevil.
Wow, I wish you would have given me that joke. That's a wonderful dad joke.
Yeah, you could use that actually.
I like that. Yeah, Wanda lost her vision. I get it. All right.
What wears blue with red accents and has Mjolnir?
Are you making this up?
Yes.
Is this another joke?
Yes.
What is it?
Captain America.
Okay.
It's not even Thor. It's just Captain America.
Okay. All right. Hey, look, save these dad jokes, man. We're going to be talking about dad jokes in a couple of weeks. But
who has two thumbs that shoot fireworks and is turning 18?
Okay, who has two thumbs, shoot fireworks, and is turning 18?
Yeah.
Who?
Jubilee.
Okay, is this a joke? Or
yes.
We talk? Oh, all right.
That's from the episode.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going. I get it.
I'm trying here, everybody.
No, we're good. All right. So I was talking about Sinister. So he's a scientist from the 1800s. And look, this guy is evil. So here's what he did. He destroyed mutants over the years and stole their DNA in order to enhance himself and prolong his life.
Which is
that's horrible.
Random.
But it sounds.
Don't ask me why he just got white and pale.
Can I repeat this? He destroyed mutants and stole their DNA to enhance himself. Who does that sound like to you?
The Empire.
Palpatine. Isn't Palpatine doing the same thing?
Why didn't you just get a blood sample or something? You didn't have to destroy them.
Well, who are you talking about? Palpatine or Sinister?
No, Sinister.
They're both doing the same thing. Do you think I know we're jumping into Star Wars, but after Palpatine gets what he wants from these clones, he's going to let them...
Somehow Palpatine return.
Is he going to allow these clones to survive?
No,
of course not. So he and Sinister are really pretty much one and the same. Anyway, just sidetrack. So that's who Sinister is. So apparently he created a clone of Jean Grey because he's fascinated with Jean Grey for some reason.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Mm-hmm. And then, so Madeline Pryor is not just a clone; she actually is a villain called the Goblin Queen.
Yeah, she's actually like more powerful than Jean Grey when she's under Sinister's control.
Well, interesting. Well, she's having help. I don't know if that's even fair. So,
I mean, she's got assistants.
Yes, exactly right. So now here's the thing. Here's the twist. Now, Madeline Pryor in the comic books is the mother of Nathan Summers, the baby that was born in the previous episode. So
Cable.
Right. So Scott all this time thought he married Jean Grey, but instead he married a clone. And the clone is this little boy's mother, Nathan.
Yeah.
All right. And now, okay, so let's take this a little bit further.
Talk about a broken home.
Yeah, well, oh boy.
Other than the mansion.
Yeah.
Because Goblin Queen trashes it.
Yeah, exactly. And you were just talking about, the screaming that Jean does, right? She has these inner demons. Wolverine tries to help her, bring her back. Jean uses her powers to fight the clone mentally. And what she does is she begins picking up the pieces of her and Madeline's memories.
Yeah, she also shows Madeline Pryor, Nathan, and that breaks the mind control.
Right, exactly.
So basically, she just drags her through memory lane the same way Agatha did to Scarlet Witch. There seems to be a theme here of telepathic characters with extremely overpowered superpowers being dragged down memory lane by people with similar superpowers to them.
Okay.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
But it's still great storytelling, though. I mean, I like it. I know we're talking about clones, and clones is a big deal, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. As long as it's
X-Men
good storytelling.
It does genuinely be a great season.
Absolutely.
Far. Like, it's only getting better.
Yeah. Right. So Jean has helped Madeline free Madeline from Sinister's control, and the two of them kind of make up at the end, right? And they go their separate ways. Now let's talk about this baby, Nathan Charles Summers. All right.
Yeah, so naturally, Mr. Sinister only cloned Jean so he could get Nathan and then make him invincible and steal his DNA.
Yeah.
So he threw him in a tank of technovirus.
Yeah.
And then
Awful.
And then Scott, not knowing that could kill him, shot open the tank and grabbed the baby, and he got sick.
Yeah.
So Beast says, yeah, he's not gonna make it. Like it would take years to make a cure. We don't have that time. So Bishop's like, there's a dude in my time who could craft anything.
Yeah.
And then
he
he's
takes
like,
the baby.
There's enough juice in this time band for two of us.
Yeah.
But if there's enough juice in the time band for two people, why doesn't Bishop take 2 trips? One to go get the cure and then bring it back, and then Beast can repair the time band, and then he can actually use it to get back and forth more easily instead of having such a limited juice. Because the time band was not really finished getting repaired. Why didn't he just get the cure and come back? If he had enough for 2 people, he should have enough for 2 trips of 1 person. And then he could come back to that exact time he left and give them the cure.
Hey, look, I don't know. That's a very good question. So all we know is that Bishop takes the baby into a new timeline or a different timeline, and
the future.
And I guess we'll see Bishop maybe in some episodes later down the line. We don't know, but the baby is gone. Nathan's in good hands with Bishop, so I'm sure we'll hear more of Nathan's story. And
Cable
then,
was in the original X-Men.
Well, right, and I was going to bring that up. You brought it up already, that Nathan actually becomes Cable, right? All right, so that is we're wrapping up. Oh no, we're not done yet. We're going to talk about the last few minutes. All right, but we're going to stop here and take some Q&A. So I think that Cyclones would not feel 100% comfortable around Jean Grey and vice versa, especially since Cyclops shared memories and time with the clone. It's very complicated. Yeah, like all soap operas are, very complicated, right? This is a family drama. All right. So now let's finish up this episode, right? So again, Bishop says, I know somebody who can, what he said, fix Nathan or find a cure for Nathan. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you know who he was referring to?
Forge.
All right, now let's get to the final scene in episode 3. Storm is in a bar in Dallas.
Yeah, called Tequila Mockingbird.
Tequila Mockingbird. Yeah, pretty cool title. And then Forge.
I had a joke for this. Dang.
Okay, you don't need to joke. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Save
an
the
alcoholic
jokes.
avian.
I don't know what that means.
Tequila Mockingbird, alcoholic avian.
Okay.
Get it?
I don't.
Avians are birds.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right. Save the jokes for later. I'm telling you, those jokes are going to come in handy. All right. So Forge is there at the bar with Storm. Of course, they both know each other. He says he can help get her powers back.
Actually, she doesn't know him.
She doesn't know Forge? No. Oh, okay. That's very interesting because, okay. All right.
Yeah, he was in the original series, but Storm wasn't.
So they never met until that time at the bar?
Correct.
I don't know about that. Okay. I must have missed that because I thought in the comics they had a relationship.
Yeah,
well, in the comics they do. Okay. So they're changing it up a little bit. Okay. All right. So that
Did you see Screen Crush's review?
I guess I missed that part, Keith. I'm sorry.
Ryan Airy, if you're watching this, we would love to have you on the show. You're
I think
the only person I watch for show reviews.
Well, you know what? I think we should go out and just ask Ryan Airy if he'd be interested in coming on our podcast.
Oh, and if he can bring Doug.
Okay, yeah, and bring the dog. Is that Doug?
Yeah.
And the puppet, whatever the hand puppet is, whoever it is. Okay. All right, so let's go into episode 4. Actually, we're doing a very good time. We're about 45 minutes, and this will take us another 15 minutes. 2 episodes in one. All right, so the first one is called Matendo. All right. You talked about this already. Want to talk about Jubilee's 18th birthday?
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
So Jubilee is turning 18.
Nice.
And nobody wants to give her any jubilation for her birthday because Magneto is not interested.
Yeah. He's the daddy that just says, he puts his foot down like, no.
So Jubilee is understandably upset, but Rogue said that they gave her some gifts. So she powers up this Motendo and it sucks her and Roberto into this magical digital world. They get chased by Sentinels and some of the members of that pro-human gang that says, "Die, beauty!" Matrix reference, with the phone booth.
Yes.
That takes them out. And then Mojo, who is the one running the Motendo.
Yeah.
It's not called Motendo because they can't license Nintendo. It's called Motendo because it's being run by Mojo, who is from the original series, and he's like the world's worst TV producer. All he wants is like views, ratings, and money.
Yes.
He literally lives off of ratings, which is why he's so thin.
Okay. Now, let me know when you're done. I don't want to interrupt you.
Speak your piece.
Okay. What I get out of this episode, it has a lesson to it. And I don't know if you picked it up, Keith. So I'm gonna just tell you how I interpreted this episode with Jubilee. So Jubilee wanted to, like any other 18-year-old, want to go, for their birthday, they should allow to do anything they want. So she wanted to hang out at the arcades. So apparently she is a gamer. She loves video games. Okay. And
like me.
Yeah. And she spends a lot of time, from what I gather, she spends a lot of time on video games.
Oh, no.
And then it gets to a point that she is so wrapped up in these games that she becomes a part of a game.
What?
Well, this is how I'm interpreting it. She becomes a part of her own video game. Like she
only opened the console because Rogue said that they had gifts for her.
Okay, well, I'm telling you how I interpreted this episode.
Your interpretation is completely different from
it's okay.
The source material.
Okay, it's okay. It's different. Well, like I'm saying, I like the way you interpret it is going to be different than what I got out of it. Okay, so let me continue. So she becomes a part of her own video game, and now she is the one that's trying to survive in this game and trying to figure out a way to get out or end the game. At one point, Roberto, he's with her and he gets hurt, and she's very concerned of, what happened and if he's going to be okay. And of course, he turns out to be fine. And then at a point towards the end of the game, she meets herself in the future, right?
Yeah.
And and then this older Jubilee explains to her
Abscissa.
I'm sorry?
Abscissa.
What is that?
That's the name of the older Jubilee.
That's okay. All right. So the older Jubilee, that's fine.
Yeah.
Explains to her how to beat the game, right? How to get out of the game, how to win the game. Fine. Good. But something that the older Jubilee said to her younger self, I thought was very, very telling. And it's something that, as a parent, we go through this, if you are a parent with children, video games. Parent
with children. Ah, yes.
A parent. Okay. I get it. All right. If you are a parent, you know what I'm talking about, right? Because
if you're a parent with children.
Yes, right. That makes you a parent, right? Okay. You know what I'm talking about because, video games can consume children very quickly.
Yeah, you know what YouTube, I consume?
Well, you need to let me finish. I'm just talking as far as a parent. Video games can consume a child. They could take up a lot of time playing video games. All right. They could spend, I'm not dropping any names. They could spend hours on video games. Right. Okay, great. But something that she said that I thought was very telling, and I want to say it, and I actually want to credit the writer. So the episode, there's two parts, written by Bo DeMeo and Charlie Feldman, directed by Chase Conley. I want to say this. So future Jubilee says this to her present self. I know a part of you wants to hang here in the video game. It's nice knowing how every stage ends. No surprises, no twists. But that's not living. Living doesn't get cheat codes or extra lives, but it has friends and family. love, loss, and heapings of hope. Life's a total risk, and it's on you. Take it.
You know, life actually does have cheat codes. You don't actually have to work for money. You can just steal it. You don't actually have to file your taxes. You can just dodge the IRS.
Right, and go to
Not
jail.
that you should. Please don't take this as actual advice.
Yeah.
If you really need money, just rob a bank.
Yeah.
It's like life does have cheat codes.
Okay. Okay. All right.
That's why nepotism is a thing. That's a cheat code in life.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. But as a parent, it is something that we struggle with, trying to get our child's attention, and try to get them away from these video games because they're very addictive. They're very consuming. And then what Jubilee is saying to her, it's fine to have these games, but there's more to life than just a video game, right? And you need to get out. You didn't get all this, did you? Or are you pretending that you didn't
propaganda?
Understand? It's not propaganda. This is what this story was about for me. Like I said, my interpretation.
The story was about growing up.
Okay, well, it's a part of that too.
What?
And a part of growing up is knowing, okay, you have to learn to now take on adult responsibilities, right? And you're not going to do that sitting behind a computer desk playing video games. You have to learn life. You have to experience. You have to learn how to love. You have to learn how to be a help to other people. You
have to learn how to be a hindrance to other people.
You can't do that just by sitting at a video game. All right. So that's what I'm trying to say. That's it.
Nice
I'm
approach.
not trying to start a fight with anybody. Maybe a parent disagrees with what I'm saying. Look, that's my interpretation. All right. Q&A. All right. Let's stop here for a minute. All right. Excellent point. Great lines. Life has lots of uncertainty and we have to embrace it and risk disappointment. Also, I'm not a parent, but I know what you mean. Internet and games are addictive. Yes, they are. And I won't say anything else about it. All right.
Speaking of addictive, you know what else is addicting?
What's that?
Skittles.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Food.
And also,
certain foods.
Greatest browser ever created.
And what is that?
Opera GX.
I don't even know what that is.
Hashtag not sponsored. It's just good.
Okay. All right. See, that's what I mean. Like, you're talking this computer talk, and I don't know what it means.
CPU, GPU, central processing unit,
well, I know what
graphics card.
Okay. All right. You're not telling me anything.
Intel AMD Ryzen 8 octa-core processing speeds.
Okay. That's computer talk. All right. Okay. All right. So that's
butter cookies.
Yeah. Butter cookies. Okay. All right. So that's anything else we want to say about Nintendo? No. We're done. They keep this. All right. Wait till the camera's off, Keith. All right. Then you can, tell me how you really feel. All right. Life, Death, Part 1. Now, from what I understand, this is actually an issue in the comic books. I have not read it, so I don't know anything about it. I don't think I want to read it because I don't want to compare it to this episode, but I think things are going so well here with this episode. So let's talk about Forge. All right. Forge made his first appearance in the Uncanny X-Men number 184. It came out in August 84. His abilities: superhuman. Of course, he's a mutant. Superhuman. He's an inventor. He's a technological genius. He is just, man, he's got the brains. Highly intelligent. He has mystical abilities and high marksmanship. All right. He was an Army veteran who served in the Vietnam War. In his second tour of duty, his comrades were killed. This is a very interesting story from the comics. His comrades were killed by the enemy, and he used the spirits of his fallen comrades to conjure up a demon, all right, to destroy the enemy.
Imagine your friends die in the line of battle, and instead of respecting them, you use their souls to conjure a demon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I like Forge.
Let's read Christopher. Chris, what's up, man? I think it's also
Uncle Chris.
Yes, I think it's also about Jubilee realizing that Magneto can also be right and accept him as a new leader. I like that. Keith has no comment. Okay, very go back. No, I agree with that. I agree with that. And her older self said the same thing, that maybe Magneto was right a little bit.
You know who else was right? Thanos.
Thanos?
Yeah.
You went there? Thanos?
No,
Come
but
on,
like
look.
you
I'm trying
think
to wrap
about it,
this up in the next 6 minutes.
him doing the snap saved Earth from the Eternals popping out too early. You know
Yeah,
that celestial that's been planted inside of Earth?
yeah.
By cutting the population in half, he gave it half the power, which slowed down its birth.
Oof, okay, we need more time to talk about that, Keith. All right, so let's talk about this demon because there's a demon that
The bird
let's
demon.
get to the end. So this apparently he has the ability to conjure up demons. The demon in the comics is called the adversary. Let's put a pin there. We'll come back to that. So he does, unfortunately, he does injure himself in the war, and he loses
himself.
he loses.
That's sad.
Yes, he loses his right leg and his right arm, but because of his abilities, he was able to create a cybernetic arm and leg. So
did he have those on lock? Because I don't. How would you be able to create a cybernetic arm with one hand and one leg?
Well, I think he might have used a machine.
Did he use his head?
Oh,
like was he holding the tools in his mouth or something?
Okay.
Did he use his head as the hammer?
Well, the next thing is that he also was employed by the U.S. government. So I'm sure the government might have given him tools and resources to create these arms.
So the government gave him a loner arm.
Well, not a loner, but they helped him build the arm and the hand and his leg, right? I don't know. Look, I'm thinking like he didn't just go into like a body shop and just put all these pieces together. He had some help, like he needed money and he needed the technology to do it.
Imagine anyway, the government just threw an arm and a leg at him and said, "That's how much it costs."
But you got to write these dad jokes down, okay? All right. So look, now this is something very important.
I should write a Marvel dad jokes book. Marvel Publishing. If you like what you see, contact me, DM me
on Marvel jokes.
Yes.
Okay.
I will actually write that though.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now, this is very important. Now, Forge actually worked for the U.S. government, and just so happens that he was the one that built the same weapon that the executioner used to fire at Magneto, where Storm took the bullet. That was the same machine he created. He invented that machine. I don't know if you knew that.
I did actually.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about Storm and Forge in this episode. So they're having dinner. They're having a good time. They're riding horses. We talked about that. Now he did mention that he's going to find a way. He's to get her powers back. It didn't work. She tried and she still doesn't have it. Now Forge, he was a very unusual guy. I mean, he seems to be, has well intentions, but I think he was a little too powerful, overpowering, and expressing his true.
Came on a little too strong.
Yes, he came on a little too strong, expressing his love for Storm at the wrong time. When she is trying to make herself whole, and you're like, "Oh, I love you," like, I don't care, like, leave me alone, like.
She literally
it's just right, and right.
Wrong time, bozo.
Okay, and now here's what happens. There's this demon from out of nowhere just comes out and is terrorizing them and grabs Aurora and takes her someplace. And I forgot to write down the quote. She is in regards to this demon loves to feast on misery of other people. It was a great quote. I wish I wrote it down. But could this demon be the adversary, the same demon?
Well, what does the adversary look like in the comics?
You know what? I don't know. I didn't get a chance to look at it in the comics. Okay, so you could look at it. So
Google.
So we're left, with a cliffhanger until next week. But we did it. We got through all 4 episodes in under an hour. All right. So everyone, let's get those final Q&As in. Let's see what we got. All right. So Alex says, Storm was understandably upset, but I could see why Forge did what he did. Interesting, especially given how he was in a difficult situation financially and emotionally. He was broken, but yes, definitely erred. Yes, that's true. I can imagine, I didn't serve in a war and I'm not a wounded a warrior. but yeah, when these um, vets come out, of the military and they serve their time, it's very difficult for them to get back into life, with a new job and starting a new life for themselves. If they have a family, want to start a family, it doesn't work out the way for them, especially if you're a wounded soldier, you're injured, how do you find work? It seems to me that the U.S. government took advantage of his intellectual abilities and used it to their advantage. And he built these machines, and he had no idea that these machines were going to be used against his own people. And this reminds me of bringing in Star Wars again, Sabine. Like Sabine worked for the Empire. You remember that? Sabine worked for the Empire. She was a loyalist. She was a part of the Academy, and she was creating and building weapons for the Empire.
Yes,
not
so
knowing
she found out what they were used for.
Exactly,
Said,
not knowing.
"What?"
Yeah, not knowing that they were going to use them against her own planet. Yeah. All right. What other questions do we have? Comments. Not sure what adversary's goal is, but I predict that Storm's battle against them will help her regain her powers.
Oh,
that's a very good possibility. Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to just end the show and Storm never gets her powers back.
Anything can happen. Do you think we can go the entire season and Storm not get her powers back?
No.
Would you like that idea?
No, it sounds awful.
Oh, okay. All right. So while we're wrapping up, there's a couple of things we want to say. First of all, we want to thank our patrons, Broaxium and Mary B. And since we're on the topic of Patreon, Keith and I have been working together and coming up with some ideas to get more patrons.
We were cooking up like Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen.
Yeah. And, so we wanted to just give you an idea. I didn't tell you that if it was okay to discuss some of our ideas. Are you okay with that? All right. So we have come up with some ideas for episodes that would be exclusive only for patron members. All right. So
we're going to release a new batch.
Right. So
don't worry, they won't be bad.
Good one. So they're not. So these are episodes that are not going to be seen on YouTube. It's not going to be on audio stream. It's only going to be available to our patrons, because what we want to do is to grow our patrons. All right. So tell us one of, you have two ideas for an episode.
Who is the most powerful X-Man?
Right.
And we are planning on ranking the Star Wars movies.
Yes. Right. We're okay. Yes. Finally. I thought you had another. Was that?
Yeah. Also ranking the Marvel shows.
Okay, all right. So
tier list.
Right. So here so we have a few ideas. So one is you're going to talk about who is the most powerful X-Men, which is interesting. Okay. Second is we are actually going. People have been asking us for years now. We've been avoiding ranking the Star Wars films. We are finally going to rank the Star Wars films,
including the Clone Wars film.
Yes, all films. All right, the Skywalker films, the offshoots. We're going to rank them, and what's going to be fun is you're going to rank them and record your episode. I'm going to do the same thing. We're not going to know how we rank these films, and we're going to get together, and then we're going to go through our top, however many films they are. So I thought that's going to be very interesting and a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. And then we're also going to do the same thing with the Marvel shows. We're going to, maybe, down the line, we'll rank the Marvel Disney Plus series.
I think I may rank them by series, like by season.
Okay, that's
most
going to be a lot.
Most shows only have 2 seasons.
Okay.
Or 1. A lot of them are just 1, and the few that have others have 2.
All right.
So the only ones who have second seasons are Loki and What If.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more. We're still brainstorming some ideas. We're also thinking about ranking the Disney Plus Star Wars series and something else. I am a big James Bond fan. All right. I have watched all of the movies. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with my ranking of the James Bond films. I'm going to rank them all. I believe there are 25 of them. I'm going to rank them all from 25 to 1. So I'm looking forward to that. So again, this is just for the patrons. We were trying to grow our numbers there on the patron side. It's only going to be available on Patreon. So more to come on that. Okay. So if there isn't any other further comments, we got, since it'll be Gordon Ramsay style, will you be screaming? Will you be screaming at Secret Invasion as you rank the shows?
I'm gonna be like, absolute mess. Presentation was off. The dish was absolutely horrid and putrid. It does not look appetizing. F tier.
There you go.
That's my best Gordon Ramsay.
I think that was
idiot sandwich.
That was very good. I didn't know you.
Get back in the kitchen and remake that.
It's too late for that. I don't think that you can say Secret Invasion. But all right, so those are some of the ideas we have. Is there anything else while we're wrapping up? Any final comments or questions? Keith, where can people find us?
You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Fatherson Galaxy, website fathersongalaxy.com. Please donate to our Patreon page, patreon.com/FathersonGalaxy. We'll have a new batch of episodes coming out soon. Please check out our merch store, fathersongalaxy.myspreadshop.com, and our Patreon page. Please, again, check it out.
Yep, you're right.
And our
consider
website,
yes.
fathersongalaxy.com.
Okay, and I don't know. I'm just throwing this out because I don't know if you remember. Like, what is the level per month for patron? Does anybody remember?
I think it's 2 and 5.
Okay, all right. Well, it's very small amount, that we're asking for per month. But
yeah,
well, more to come on that.
You know, PBS asks you to do donations.
Yeah.
Well, we're like PBS.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we're not going to yeah. Okay. Well, more to come on that. I think that is it, and we'll be back on Wednesday for our live stream of the Bad Batch, episode 12. Can you believe it? 12. All right.
12.
So that is it, everyone. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. However you find us, thank you. We really appreciate it. So until next time.
$3 and $5 tiers.
Yes, we have $3 and $5 tiers. Thank you so much, super producer. So we have $3 tiers, $5 tiers. All right. More to come on Patreon. Thank you once again.
Yeah. So $5 tiers will be getting more episodes than the $3 tiers, by the way.
Yeah. Even the bond in the skirt.
The what?
The bond in the skirt. I don't remember that. I think I know what movie that is. But I'll get back to you on that. I don't, maybe.
Huh?
Oh, right. Yes, right. Bond with the skirt. Okay. Yep. I got it, Chris.
Huh?
Thank you. You didn't see the movie, so you don't know.
Huh?
Until next time, everyone. Take care. And we will see you again.